The Mariners wrap up their final trip to the Oakland Coliseum ever with a couple of nice wins. Let's talk about it. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Thursday, September 5th, 2024. This is Tidy Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Mariners beat the A's 6-4 and wind up splitting their final series ever at the Oakland Coliseum. We'll talk some Bryan Woo, who went 5 innings in this one, Julio, who had a nice day at the plate, and of course, Cal Raleigh, who continues to etch his name in the record books. Before we get into all that, though, shout out to our title sponsor today, PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the promo code LockedOnMLB. That's all lowercase to win $50 instantly when you play $5. And if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, check out our Patreon. The link is in the description and you can sign up for a free 7-day trial. So not only did the Mariners win last night and today, both of those wins coincided with Astros losses. So Colby, do you have the masculine urge to say we're back 20 minutes after saying it's over?
No.
Neither do I. They are back to 4.5 games back of the Astros, so just putting that out there, just acknowledging it.
Get within two of the Astros.
Sure.
Prior to whatever that date is, September 23rd. So you have 18 days, 17 days now that you're done today, to get to a point where if you sweep the series against the Astros, you're in the playoff position. If you get to that point, fine. We'll have the conversation about we're back.
Sure.
Only to probably see them lose one of those games against the Astros and pretty much be eliminated, which is why it's very important that you actually are within one game of the Astros when you go down there, which means you still have to make up 3.5 games over the next 17 days. Not impossible, but yeah, it's almost like you should have won some games when Kansas City was losing 7 in a row and, Boston was in the dumps and Minnesota's won just 5 of like their last 17. It's almost like you should have strung together some wins there so we could have multiple paths to the playoffs. But as things stand right now, you are once again closer to the American League West lead than you are a wild card lead. But as things stand right now, you are the first team out of the wild card. So, that's nothing, but cool.
Sure. Great deal of optimism there from one Mr. Colby Patnode. Now, Colby, not only was it a big day for Julio and Cal at the plate, but also Luke Raley. Victor Robles had a nice day as well. Every single guy in the Mariners lineup today had at least one hard hit ball. We'll get into the offense, though, in a little bit here. An offense that scored 22 combined runs over the last 2 days because, of course, right? They also jumped to 18th in Team WRC Plus last night or after last night's offensive explosion. So I'm interested to see where maybe they wind up after today's game.
Really good.
Right. But
I actually want to... That's the answer.
Right. But I actually want to start with Bryan Woo here, who went 5 innings in this one, gave up his first 2 runs ever to the A's. He had gone like 24 innings scoreless against the A's in his career. Not a great day for Woo. Really struggled with the command, which is not something we've seen from him much this year. Found himself in a lot of full counts. And I think the only clean inning overall where he got through at 1, 2, 3 was the first inning, and that was it. But he wraps up the day, 6 strikeouts, 2 earned runs on 8 hits, gave up a lot of hard hit balls. But overall, gave the team a chance to win, and when they did. So how did you feel about Woo's day?
Yeah, this is the first time in a while that we've seen him have to really grind through, at bats. I mean, even in his last start where he wasn't all that great against the Angels, he gave up 3 home runs in that start. He was still cruising for the most part. He was in the rocking chair. He was throwing the ball where he wants it and all that. So this is really the first time he's really had to grind through a lineup. And yeah, he was able to get ahead of a lot of guys. We saw a lot of 2-strike counts in this one, but he really struggled to put guys away in an efficient manner. So there was a lot of 1-2 counts that became 3-2 counts, pretty quickly. The fastball command just wasn't quite there. He was throwing enough strikes, 88 pitches, 59 strikes. So you like that, that even on a day where he doesn't have his best feel, he's still pounding the strike zone for the most part. But yeah, just wasn't his best fastball today. Velo was fine, so it's nothing like that. But if you are looking for a positive in this one, might want to be talking about the off-speed stuff, because for the first time in a while, Bryan Woo's off-speed stuff was actually the star of this game, not his fastballs. So is something of positive note to take away from this. He threw 17 sweepers. This was a very kitchen sink style of pitching from Woo. I mean, 24 fastballs still led the day, but he only threw his four-seamer 27% of the time in this one. He threw his two-seamer 18% of the time. So
yeah,
you do the math. He threw more breaking balls and off-speed stuff today than he did fastballs. So that's pretty interesting. And the sweeper, 17 of them. He got 9 swings on that pitch, 4 whiffs, 44% whiff rate. Also got 3 called strikes on that. And then the changeup, he also had 3 whiffs on 8 swings on that pitch. So you look overall, 15% whiff rate on the four-seamer. That's really low for him, but 44% on the sweeper, 20% on the sinker, 38% on the changeup. Those are really good numbers for Woo and the off-speed stuff. So, well, the fastball wasn't as dominant as it usually is, thanks mostly to command today. The off-speed stuff, the slider and the changeup in particular, or sweeper, whatever, and the changeup in particular today were both really good, and he expanded the zone very well with those pitches. So, a very overall positive effort from Woo. It just looked a lot different than we're used to seeing, but he managed to find a way to get it done when he didn't have his best stuff working for him.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that he threw that many breaking balls today and off-speed pitches in general. The fact that he threw as many sweepers as he did two-seamers today is pretty crazy.
I mean, you look.
Is that the first time ever we've seen that from him?
It
feels like it.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at the percentage breakdowns: 27% four-seam, 19% sweeper, 19% sinker, 18% changeup, 16% slider.
Yeah.
So it was kitchen sink. Like, this is as kitchen sink as it gets for a guy who typically is over 50% with the four-seamer, and then is about 20 to 30% with the two-seamer. Today, he was not that at all. And I don't know if that was game plan specific, if that was just something they wanted to try today, or if it was just, I don't have the best feel for my four-seamer today, so I'm going to mix it up a little bit more. Right. So it'd be interesting to hear why we saw this. And again, it's very unusual. I can't imagine that we've ever seen a Woo start where he threw more off-speed stuff than he did fastballs, because typically he doesn't have to, because Woo has one of the best fastballs in baseball. We know this. But today he didn't really have it. He wasn't quite connecting with it the way he usually does. So he went to the off-speed stuff and it worked really well.
All right, let's talk about the Mariners offense, Colby. Again, an offense that scored 22 combined runs over its last 2 games, somehow, some way, with, I believe, 27 combined hits, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
We'll go over that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you once again by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You could turn $10 into $1,000. Think Tyreek Hill will get more than 90.5 yards in week 1, or that Caleb Williams will throw for fewer than 236.5 yards in his debut? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. You can catch all the action between the Mariners and the Cardinals tomorrow night on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. All you have to do to find that is search the word Mariners. And tomorrow, before the game, we have a very, very fun episode planned for you guys. We're going to have not just one guest join us tomorrow, but two guests join us tomorrow for what should be a really fun discussion with Colby and I. So look forward to that. All right. So let's talk about this Mariners offense, Colby. Again, they jumped up to 18th in team WRC plus, which is almost kind of unbelievable after last night's offensive explosion, which itself was quite unbelievable. Luis Arias leading the charge. Common Luis Arias W, folks. I believe Arias entered the game last night with a WRC plus of 69. Nice. And he left the game. I'm going to try and bring this up real quick. With a WRC plus of 97. So
like your fourth best hitter.
28% jump in one game for Luis Arias last night.
Yep. That'll happen when you hit 3 doubles and a home run. Who else had multiple doubles and a home run in this series in the same game?
Luke Raley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Raley.
Luke Raley, who added some much needed insurance in the top of the ninth of this game because Brent Rooker hit what would have been a game tying 2-run home run in the bottom of the ninth off of Andres Munoz, except for the fact that Luke Raley, a half inning beforehand, hit a 2-run home run himself to deep center to make it 6-2 at the time for the M's. And yeah, I mean, the Mariners had multiple opportunities in this game to play add-on, and they weren't able to make that happen. They had some real bad luck with Julio at the plate. First and second, ball gets past the catcher, and it just caroms off the backstop right back to the catcher, and Leo Rivas was stuck in no man's land there. So that was unfortunate.
Not even a brick backstop either.
Right, yeah.
It just still like perfectly ricocheted right to him.
I mean, when have you ever seen that happen in Oakland?
Never. I mean, because the backstop is so far away too. Like,
right, yeah.
Like if it feels like if the catcher gets like even like a scrap of his glove on it, that slows it down enough that it's just going to sit back there. But this one caromed right to McMahon, I believe, was catching today, and so what can you do? It sucks, but also before the home run, Julio works a walk, and it's a long at bat. He doesn't chase, he doesn't expand the zone, he doesn't try to do too much, and he's on base for when Raley hits the big home run. So yeah, it was. It's been a very nice glimpse into what offense is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't have to score 22 runs every 2 days, but like
could be fun if you did.
Yeah, get some extra base hits, cut down on the strikeouts a little bit, draw some walks, steal the occasional bag, and then you get somebody gets the big hit when you need it, and boom, it looks good. It looks a lot better than what we have been seeing. So it's been a fun 2 days, desperately needed. It also happens to coincide with the Astros losing twice to the Reds after sweeping 4 games.
Thank you, Time France.
Yes, Jerry DiPoto knows what he's doing. Ty France just helped the Mariners more in this series than he did the previous 3 months with Seattle. So,
and I mean, look who the Astros are playing next: the Arizona Diamondbacks. Gino Suarez, Paul Sewald. Mm-hmm. Jerry's out here playing 99 D chess.
And longtime Mariner fan Corbin Carroll, absolutely going to crush it in this series. So, Hey, you know what I was thinking about? Remember
future Mariner Christian Walker? Is he even playing right now?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, because they traded for Josh Bell, right?
Yeah, he crushed it for like a week. I don't know how he's been doing since then.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about today? Watching the Luke Raley show.
Tell me.
Remember in April when like they just weren't using him like at all?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting there like, you have to use this guy. You have to give him a shot. And basically he didn't start to play really every day the way he should be playing until May. Well, I was curious.
It was about April 20th, the Rocky series. Yeah.
Right. Well, I was just looking, I was curious. So I looked it up since May 1st, right? Nice round, clean starting point. He is hitting 236, 322, 465. Mm-hmm. That is a 128 WRC plus. Yeah. The strikeout rate, 30.6%. Cool. That's what it was last year. Luke Raley is going to strike out. Just under a 7% walk rate, 17 homers, 8 stolen bases, and 324 plate appearances. You guys can do the math over a full season of worth of plate appearances, 30 home runs, 16 stolen bases. solid average defense pretty much wherever you want to play them. And when you start to look at like the game log, the position log, 59 games in left, 30 in right, 29 at first, 9 in center, 3 at DH. And after today's game, he is hitting a cool 238, 313, 451 as a 121 WRC plus. He is quickly approaching your best hitter territory, which is a problem in and of itself, but also with a lot of negativity going around. We should point out that Luke Raley has been a, rare front office W in terms of acquiring a bat and having him actually work out for you.
It's so funny. We talked about this on the Patreon yesterday. Like the move that most worked out, the offseason move that most worked out for the Mariners this year was essentially swapping out Jared Kelenic for Luke Raley. Mm-hmm. The trade that everyone hated the most, which I hated the most, still hate the process of
two separate trades. So, right. But in the math, right, in the calculus, you removed Jared Kelenic from your lineup and he was replaced by Luke Raley. That's how the puzzle played out, right?
Yep.
Far and away, their best improvement, their best move.
Yeah.
Which I don't think really anybody saw coming.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Kelnic's still essentially been the guy he's always been. He'll get hot for a couple weeks and then he'll crater for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
He's figured it out again. Oh, he's figured it out. There's the star we know.
He's quite literally the embodiment of we're back, it's over, we're back, it's over, we're back, it's over. And Raley arguably, and this says more about the Mariners, frankly, than it does about Raley, but Raley has been arguably the Mariners' most consistent hitter this year. I think Cal Raleigh is your best hitter this year, but
I think by WRC plus standards, Raley's up by about 10% now.
Yeah.
Like he's been good. And obviously he's a streaky hitter. And that's, part of the Mariners lineup issue is that they have a bunch of streaky hitters and they need some just consistency in the middle of their lineup. But Raley at the end of the day is going to finish. I mean, we'll see how he finishes the last few weeks here, but he's going to be above league average bat. He's going to be about an average defender in 4 or 5 different spots. And you have him for 4 more years after this year. Yeah. So Luke Raley, I don't know if he's going to be the starting first baseman next year, if he's just going to be, in a rotation with Arozarena and Robles. But they might trade him. They might consider trading him. I hope they don't, because they need to add as many good bats as they can have. And while Luke Raley is a flawed bat, you don't want him to face a lot of lefties. You don't want him to be, the number 3 hitter because he's going to strike out a ton. You need bats like Luke Raley who are just going to produce in their own way. You just need a little bit more consistency built around him. So hopefully Luke is in the plans going forward. Because again, you're not even paying him anything until after next season when he'll be ARB eligible. So Raley is albeit at 29 years old, he is a cheap, fairly reliable option because now he's done it 2 years in a row where he has been at the very least, a legit, strong side platoon hitter 2 years in a row. Like it's time to just accept that that's who this guy is.
So the thing I've always been scared of happening while recording the show is happening right now, and I'm fighting through hiccups. So pardon me if you hear anything. That's a lot more Luke Raley than I was expecting to talk about. But yeah, Raley, huge today. He's been huge all year. I also wanted to talk about Cal Raleigh, who today, hit another home run in the first inning in this series. This time that surpasses Johnny Bench and ties him with Rudy York for catchers through their first 4 years with home runs. So he is now tied second with Rudy York on that list and trails Mike Piazza by 4 home runs with a couple weeks to go here in the season. So non-zero chance that he catches Piazza and potentially becomes the leader amongst all catchers in their first 4 years with the most home runs during that time. That'd be pretty special. And he also stole a bag today. He had another RBI as well, 3 on the day in total. So a really nice day for Cal Raleigh. And a big day for Julio Rodriguez, who we're going to be talking about next here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Ibotta. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer but dreading the cost? With Ibotta, you get cash back on all of your purchases so you can spend more time making memories this summer and less time dreaming about them. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and a whole lot more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the promo code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back by using the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. And once again, you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. You can catch all the action between the Mariners and the Cardinals tomorrow night on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. All you have to do to find that is search the word Mariners. So let's talk about Julio Rodriguez, Colby. Big day for Julio, who continues to pull the ball with authority, with some actual level of consistency here over the last week or so. He destroyed the home run that he hit today to lead off the third inning. I believe it was one of the longest home runs he has hit in his entire career. 111 miles per hour off of the bat, 27-degree launch angle, 448 feet. And then he also had an infield single that he hit hard, and third baseman Max Schumann wasn't able to make the play on. So, hey, I mean, this is what we've been asking from Julio. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but he's starting to look like the guy that we've been wanting to see. What are you seeing out of Julio right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's getting to his pull side a lot more on this road trip, and it started in the Tampa series a little bit, but on this road trip, he's really getting pull side, which is great. I mean, it's been the issue all year. We know it's been the issue all year, and it's finally we're finally starting to see some resolution to it. Now we saw him start to do this right before he got hurt as well. So this could just be him finally getting his timing back and just getting back to what he was doing before he hit the IL. But yeah, obviously it's great to see. Worth noting, the infield single is technically an error unless they've changed that in the last few minutes.
Did they?
So, but it's been an error all day. So unless they changed it recently,
Okay.
But he did also have a very nice walk again to set up the Luke Raley 2-run bomb. Yeah, he looks better. He looks healthy, out in the field. So yeah, it looks like Julio is starting to become the guy that we all assumed he was going to be this year. Better late than never. And you hope that he can continue regardless of how it impacts the Mariners' playoff odds, minuscule as they are. You just want to see Julio finish on a high note and continue to get to the pull side. And there's a shot here. It's not a great one. He's going to have to, continue to find his power stroke here. But there's still a shot that he goes 20-20 this year with really good above average defense out in center field. And that's his bad year, right? We're like, oh, that's disappointing for Julio to go 20-20, even though he missed, 3 weeks and he got off to a terrible start and he's still, like a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. Like, that's the floor. That's a really good player. So you hope that Julio can finish strong. But yeah, he's getting to his pull side more. There's just no question about it. Striking out a little bit less. He's taking his walks. He's not expanding the zone, which has been huge. I think he's running about a 20% walk rate over the last, week or so. And last night in the 16-run game, he flew out 4 times to right field. Like, not what you want to see. It's not like you never want Julio to hit the ball to right field, but 4 times in one game, based on what we've seen so far, like, that's noteworthy, and it's a little concerning. And then today he gets back to the pull side, the home run, the hard hit ball that should be an infield single, but whatever. That's an error. But the ball that JJ Bleday just whiffed on isn't an error because he didn't touch it.
I mean, again, like, what is an error? Because usually you see it all the time. If a ball is hit hard in the infield and the guy can't make a play, usually the scorers chalk that up to, well, it was, 105 off of the bat or whatever. So like, how are you supposed to make a play on that? I mean, this was what, 109 off of the bat. Pull it up. 108.9. So essentially 109 off of the bat from Julio. They call it an error. Like it's like, it's like the whole what's a catch conversation in the NFL. Like, what is an error in MLB right now? Apparently that was, and the one with Blade on the fly ball from Raley, not. So who knows? Who the hell knows anymore?
Yeah. MLB scorekeeping, not that difficult of a job, but they still mess it up somehow. So Julio getting to the pull side with authority more and more often. It's something that you want to see happen. It's something Julio needs to see happen. And again, it's not that Julio can't ever hit the ball to center field or right center field or right field. He can do that, and he can find success doing that. That's fine. But when you get pitched inside, you have to drive that ball. You have to hit that ball down the line because, as Julio can hit the ball out of any ballpark in any direction, still a majority of his power is going to be to his pull side. And then you need Julio to be a power hitter. Julio can't be what he needs to be if he's hitting 260 with 15 home runs a year. Like, that's not who you're paying Julio to be. Julio has to be hitting 30 home runs. He has to be, still at 260, 280, whatever, even when he's hitting 30 home runs, be a little bit above average in on base. And you're going to have a high slug if you hit 30 bombs. And that's what you need Julio to do. You need him to run around in the outfield. You need him to run the bases aggressively. Like, yeah, we know who Julio can be. We know who the Mariners need him to be. He just hasn't been that for most of this year, but over the last week or so, week to 10 days, we started to see little baby steps, line drive singles into left over the shortstop's head, stuff like that. Now we're starting to see the damage. We're seeing doubles. We're seeing home runs. And he's done all that without, while actually, trimming his strikeout rate and seeing his walk rate explode. So just really good work being put in by Julio. And, how much of it is Edgar? How much of it is Julio, taking the advice? How much of it is just, hey, Julio had already started to figure it out. And unfortunately, he had to miss 3 weeks with his ankle injury. And that kind of, stopped everything as he tried to get his timing back at the plate. And now it's just a continuation of that. So, Julio puts in the work and now he's starting to see the results. And it's not a coincidence that the Mariners have had their best back-to-back, or the Mariners offense has been pretty good recently, at least scoring 4 or 5 runs a night, seemingly. It's not a coincidence that they're doing that when Julio is playing well.
That's going to do it for our show. But before we get out of here, a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Now head on over to Locked On Seahawks to get all the latest on the Hawks before the season kicks off this Sunday. Corbin Smith and the gang, and tell them Ty and Colby sent you. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.